Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. Hey, private practice heroes, it's Colaiacovo with the Marketing Your Private Practice podcast. And today we're doing one of our free marketing reviews with Cary. And Cary is a registered dietitian nutritionist and licensed dietitian in the state of Oregon. And she's been in practice or maybe not in practice the whole time, but she is a dietitian who's been around for 15 years. And she is also, her company is called Healthy You Nutrition, which is a nonprofit organization, which I'm going to ask her about that, what that means, because that's the first time I've run into a dietitian who works as, or your company is, and I guess you'll explain it to us, Cary, as a nonprofit. So for folks who want to follow along, the website, because Cary is doing a website review today, her website is healthyuwellness.org, and the U is just the letter U, not Y-O-U. So welcome here, Cary.
Thank you.
And glad to have you here on the podcast because this is a real interesting twist here on the kind of business. So I definitely want you to maybe explain to everybody what that is and why your business is a nonprofit organization.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me today. I decided to start Healthy You as a nonprofit because I eventually would like to start being able to apply for and access grants to help support community nutrition and cooking skills program. I used to work for the Oregon Food Bank managing a nutrition education program and just found that there's a need for similar programming, and that was developed for like healthy adults and families. But we just found that there was a need for similar programming for folks with like diabetes or chronic kidney disease. And so when I started Healthy You, my long-term goal is to be able to offer 2 to 3 courses a year, very similar nutrition education, cooking skills, food demo, or actually making recipes during the class, and then sending people home with the ingredients to make the meal at home. So it just helping people to connect the nutrition with the cooking and the eating behavior. So yeah, again, long-term goal is to have a program that we could get some grant funding for. So that was part of the reason of doing a nonprofit organization. It does change taxes a little bit. I'm technically an employee of the organization, so I pay personal taxes, but the organization itself does not.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good to know because, you know, part of when we look at a website, we're always looking at the message on the website. And so I do have a question about that for your website. And let me just say here, before we dive in a little bit more, that I want to remind everybody listening in that these free marketing reviews I do, they are part of my podcast. The cost to you is basically being willing to go live on a podcast and talk about some of your business struggles, your practice struggles, and what you're looking to do to grow your practice or your business. So this is open to everyone, and I will always have a link in the show notes wherever you're listening so that you can click and sign up for one on your own as well. So today, Cary signed up for a website review, and I typically like to read what everybody had pointedly put in and submitted, Cary, just so that we know what you're looking for. And then I'll get you to add on to that if there's any more that you might have forgotten or changed or that you've thought about that you really want to be as part of this review. So you built your website about 6 years ago. So you made changes based on suggestions from web developers, and you had some SEO changes you did about 4 or 5 years ago. You haven't changed a ton in the content or the look or the layout at this point, and you're wondering if a makeover would help increase those coming to the page for services to book a consultation call. And you're also worried that the SEO keywords and titles are not accurate enough to feed the SEO gods and make them happy. I love that. I thought that was awesome. So, is there anything else that you want to sort of add into that to?
Not really. Yeah. After listening to I can't remember what it was, like a webinar that you did with Joyce, whose last name I'm not going to pronounce properly. So yeah, I've always wondered if there's something else that could be done to the website. And one of the things that struck me was, once you get on the page, having that kind of attention grabbing piece.
Right.
Knowing that people's attention span is pretty limited, especially online. So just seeing if there's just something that could make it a little bit more attention grabbing and people more likely to book a consultation.
Okay, good. So in order to know and give some advice on that, the biggest thing, and I know I told you I wouldn't get you to explain this in your elevator pitch or when you tell us about you, but what I might do is get you to kind of give me what your elevator pitch is, so how you tell people and introduce yourselves to them, because I want to get an idea from how you do that and describe it. If you can give me any insight into who your ideal client is and what kind of problem you help them solve with your services. So why don't you start off and if you're brave and ready to go, just try that, that common elevator pitch that we would all say, if you're introducing yourself to somebody. So you can pretend that we already know your name and we've done that. And I said, so Cary, what kind of business do you have and what do you do for a living? That big question everybody asks.
Yeah. Well, I am a registered dietitian nutritionist. I'm licensed in the state of Oregon, and I run Healthy You Nutrition, which is a nonprofit organization offering nutrition counseling and group education. I work with a lot of people mostly on healthy lifestyles, either weight management, perimenopause, menopause, diabetes management, and some GI disorders, so like SIBO and irritable bowel syndrome. And really, I just try to work with people, take a collaborative approach to find small changes in your current lifestyle that are sustainable for people to, again, just manage whatever chronic health condition or achieve their ultimate lifestyle goals.
So, question for you with this introduction, would you normally tell people it's a nonprofit?
Well, sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. It depends on the person and the situation.
For those that you do say it's a nonprofit, do people have a perception then that your services might be free?
I have not actually experienced that.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know. And at some point, I assume that's what part of your goal is to offer some of these services free with the grants.
Correct. Yeah. The group nutrition and community education.
So my main thing was when a normal private practice type of client wants to work with you one-on-one, they're not going anywhere and thinking, oh, your rates will be different or will be free because they see that it's a nonprofit.
Correct. Other than if their health insurance covers it, because I do take several health insurance plans and there's quite a few plans that cover nutrition services as a preventative, so no out-of-pocket cost.
And if you were to narrow down like one problem that is very similar because you have, it sounds like more of a general nutrition dietitian practice. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
And is that part of that, is that because it is part of the nonprofit and you're going to serve a variety of people with what you have there, or?
Mostly it's just my experience and not having ever truly chosen to specialize in any specific area.
And it's funny, never diminish the value of that, because I know in my first business, I was a virtual assistant and there was a lot of general virtual assistants. So they would do things like email management and they would do calendar management, and some of them would do phone service or things like that, more traditional administrative roles, but they were doing it virtually. And it was interesting because sometimes I found that they didn't think that was a specialty, but at the same time, there was people like me who specialized in, social media and other marketing stuff. And I'm like, I am not going to do that. You have to go talk to one of my friends because that's their specialty, right?
Yeah.
So generalizing can be a specialty in itself as well. So just some food for thought on that.
Yeah. And I haven't found my niche that I really want to focus on. I kind of do like the variety.
So I'm going to look at your website because a bit of what you were wondering about was the SEO aspect of it and what you've got in play there. And I think if I'm correct, because I did take a peek at it earlier, it's a Squarespace website. Is that?
It's a Wix. Yeah.
Wix website. Okay. So you've built it on Wix, which is one of the websites like Squarespace. It's kind of a DIY type of thing. So they have builders that make it fairly easy for us technical people to be able to go in and, create websites and put things together. So for me, when I look at websites, the biggest thing I want to see is a headline there, something that catches my attention. Cary mentioned a webinar that I did. So I was speaking to Joyce Faraj Ardura's nutrition counseling group. And we were on Facebook and I was talking about websites and how you get clients from websites and what you should do with it. So part of that is always making sure that anybody that comes to visit your website can get answers to 5 basic questions from what they see immediately on there. We all know there's not very much time that anybody has when someone hits your website to capture their attention so they don't go hit back on the search and go looking for more. So we're typically looking to find out and make sure that when they're coming to the site, you need to make sure from your end that you've identified who your ideal client or audience is, because they want to know, is this site for me, right? Is this where I should be? You want to make sure that you're focusing on somehow a big problem that they have, because people go searching for help or they've been referred to you for help because they have a problem. So they want to know from the other side is, do you understand their problem? And if you have some sort of solution, do you have a way to help me with my problem would be the third one. And then most people will want an idea of what kind of help I'm going to get, but they're not necessarily looking to nail down like every minutia and detail of what you would, be offering as a service. They don't care about necessarily how many minutes on a call or how often right away. They just want to know, what is it generally that you're going to do to help me? And in your case, nutrition counseling services is what we're getting here. And then how do they get started and how do they connect with you? Those are the big things that we want to make sure that we're putting in there. And SEO is a big part of having a website. I've always taught my clients and students in my programs some general SEO tips and tactics so that you have a good understanding of what you can do to help with that. So websites and our businesses and the people out there looking for people like us to help them, we kind of have a 3-way circle kind of relationship here. We put content on our websites. Typically, we're always thinking for people to come to the website and read and find. But at the same time, you want content on there that also lets the search engines know what your website is about, so that if people are searching on their search engines, they have someone or places to send them to for answers. So you're always putting content and messaging on websites so that you're talking to both of these audiences. One is a little more technical and one is more, can you answer these 5 questions for me? So when I come to your website, and I have to tell you, you have something on your website I have never ever seen before in my 16 years in business. I've been building websites with the person that works for me. We don't do it much anymore, but we started building them together in 2010, I believe. And I'm telling you, I'm going back 14 years here, Cary, and I've never seen this before. So you have an SEO title on your page that is kind of unique. You have some words in there that you're kind of connected with the words near me.
Okay.
So that's part of what you've put into some of your site and what people will see, like when I can see into the content on it for the SEO aspect of it. So you've got like Healthy You Nutrition and then find a registered dietitian. So it's very interesting. And on some of your pages, I think I actually saw in the SEO title the words near me. So tell me about that.
So Wix has some basically fill in the blank, like they will make suggestions. And because I think there's a tag like registered dietitian. Oh gosh, there's one group where you can put like an emblem on there. And I can't remember if it's like a registered dietitian near me, nutritionist near me, or just one of those things that just helps, again, feed the algorithms or whatever it is. And I can't say I really understand it, but
okay,
it's what was suggested by Wix. Totally open to changing it.
Yeah. Well, actually, you made me do a little research and looking some stuff up here, I'll be honest.
Fair.
And the reason is, and I looked it up, and I am going to put a couple links because I found a very good article from this past October about how to leverage the word near me in searches for local SEO. And by no means am I an SEO expert, but my initial thought when I saw all of this was that number one, Google is very big on a few years ago, and I have a blog I'll reference for everybody to look at. They want content on websites written by people for people, and that sounds natural. They call it they did a helpful, useful content update is what they called it. And so they're trying to make sure people aren't, keyword stuffing and putting in words that they're just filling in stuff, and that the content really makes no sense for a person to actually read through and have an experience going in there. And part of that is making sure that what you're putting in, if you're using AI or doing anything, that you're not making it sound too robotic, too not natural. They want it to sound like real humans have written the content, and that's key to them. But the other part of it is also that more and more people are connecting their businesses to Google Maps and Google My Business, setting up a profile there, especially if you see people in person, because that is key. Technically, just for anyone listening, if you do not see people in person at your place of business and you don't have someone who is in that office at that business during your stated business hours, technically, you're not allowed to have a Google Maps or a Google business page. So for folks that are 100% virtual, nobody ever comes to them, technically, you're not supposed to have one of those pages. And Google, I have noticed, because they've shut down a couple members' accounts that I have had in my program in the last few years. So I know they're kind of paying attention and watching that. But having that Google business page, especially if you do see people in person, is key because it's part of the local search and the local information. But my instinct when I saw it, Cary, was when I looked at it, I thought, well, you don't live in near me. You live in, what's the name of your city?
Happy Valley, Clackamas.
Okay, that's really complicated to say.
It's like they're right on a border. Half the people think it's Happy Valley or it's Clackamas. Sorry, it's two different cities. I realized said that a little fast.
Both in Oregon?
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, when people, and Google does do this, so near me is part of their search algorithm, right?
Okay.
But if someone is living in your area and they're doing a Google search for someone near them, Google is more likely to want to see your state, your city, than the words near me, because you don't live in a city near me. It's just part of their backend.
Okay.
Now, having said that, there is some information there that does say that some people who especially had this for a little while ago and had this in play were actually getting some benefit from it. But it's what they have titled on this blog is the rise in overt near me optimization, meaning people are trying to scam the system pretty much and trying to work it that way in there. So again, I'm not an expert on this, but I would always say to you that you want to make sure that you have the real information on there as well.
Okay.
So for me, and the way I look at this, and so I'll give you a bit of a keyword lesson on what we talk about when we think about SEO and in the module that I have for my students in my academy program. So if I'm looking at your homepage, that's the biggest one, your homepage. It's the one that's most often probably going to, for most people, show up in an online search. So right now, the SEO title on your page is healthy with a capital U attached to it, a space, the word nutrition, then a space, then a line, and then the words find a registered dietitian. So that, and you work 100% virtual, or do you see some people in person?
I offer in person and virtual.
And in person is in the town, Happy Valley?
Correct.
Happy Bay?
Clackamas.
Clackamas. Okay. Yeah. That's a complicated city.
Yeah.
So for me, if part of what you're looking to do is have clients in person there, you need to have that kind of content on there. Okay. But the biggest thing to think about when you're looking at the SEO title you have here, if a stranger is going to be looking for you, because you're mostly doing SEO and trying to optimize for that, for people who don't know you. If they don't know you, they're not going to know the company name, Healthy You Nutrition. Okay?
Yeah.
But they are going to look for a registered dietitian nutritionist near Happy Valley,
Clackamas. It's a Native American word. We have lots of Native American cities. Things.
I need it written down. So
yeah.
Clackamas. Okay, yeah. I got it. So people are going to look for that. Or when they're searching, if they use the words registered dietitian nutritionist near me, Google's going to try and match your city, your town, your location to what with their location where they're searching from. So I would cut back a little bit on that near me stuff, and I would go a little more organic and look at what you have on each page. And just for a very quick overview for everybody on SEO, every page you have on your website should have a unique page title and a unique page description. Those are the things that when you do a Google search and it gives you results, you see the title and you see 2 lines. That's the description.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't pointedly put them in, typically what you're going to see is whatever got registered as your site title and whatever the first bit of content is on your page. That's a little iffy as to what Google shows sometimes in those 2 lines. But if you've got the SEO description in there, that's going to help you a lot more. Okay. So for you, the one thing that I would say from the get-go is you want to look at changing some of those and probably going a little more au naturel with the content and the titles in particular. So your Meet Our Dietitian page, which is your About page, the SEO title that I can see there is Meet Our Dietitian, space, line, Healthy You, again as one word, and nutrition. And so the issue partly with that is when people are going to use the word healthy in anything, it's never going to have the you attached to it.
Okay.
Right? So it's kind of, you're getting a little kind of creative there instead of clear and very precise on what you have. And I would always do on an about page, for instance. So if y'all want a little lesson on what's ideal for SEO title on a about page, in your case, I would put, and I know you worked hard for the registered. It's not always as important because people searching are going to put dietitian. And actually they put nutritionist or nutrition more than they put dietitian. So I would probably do something like dietitian, Cary Cuevas, and you can put your specialty there on your services. You could just put nutrition counseling, but you could also put in and then put your cities, which I've now forgotten the cities.
That's okay.
Happy Valley.
Happy Valley.
That one, because that's in Goose Bay, Labrador, and I have friends that live there. Happy Valley.
Clackamas. Clackamas.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And I have to stop asking for that.
That's okay.
It's going so sour here. But that's like those 2 names and Oregon would be more important than Meet Our, like Meet Our.
Yeah.
They are not keywords for you.
Okay.
What I do see them as is that's the title of your page. So at the top of that about page, you have a title, Meet Our Dietitian. That's what's showing up is automatically, which tells me you haven't pointedly put in an SEO title on the page.
Yeah. These were just kind of autofill because I wasn't sure what to do.
Exactly.
So technical question, because the way it comes up on the suggestion is it's like Healthy You Nutrition, then it has that space, that bar, space, and then the other words. Is that important to have that space and that bar in there? Or can I just put registered diet or?
You don't need it. No.
Okay.
People will put it sometimes just like right now it's there. It's an automated thing because there's a formula making that show. It's taking your site title and then your company name and putting a line in between. It's just an automated aspect of it. But if you were typing it in yourself, you could make it look, again, as natural as possible.
Okay. Yeah.
You only have for those, if you can stick to 60 characters, it's not much.
Yeah.
But keeping it under that is helpful because then people can see all of it in a search result.
Yeah.
And then having a description that's 180 characters or less is again helpful there as well. So every page should have a different title. Every page should have a different description. And what they should have when you describe them is what's on the page. So for instance, on the Meet Our Dietitian, that's why you would put your name and put that information in there. On your wellness services, you're going to put a different name. You know, you're going to put wellness services, nutritional counseling services, that kind of thing would be what you would look at using in there. And it's just trying to connect those SEO elements to the content that's actually on the website.
Okay.
And this is where if people start overextending and putting way too many of those keywords in there. So if you, for instance, had the word dietitian and you just keep using it over and over again and maybe making links to other things that it just doesn't make sense and it doesn't read with a nice flow, that's where it's actually probably going to hurt you more than help you.
Okay.
Okay. So on the SEO aspect, that is definitely something I would look at for you and take a peek at how you could fix all of those pages up. Just by looking at them, mostly what I'm seeing is it's automatically showing the title and then the name of your company.
Yeah.
So you could definitely fix those up a little bit more. Okay.
And get rid of anything that says the near me, but you like maybe find registered dietitian, Happy Valley, Clackamas, Oregon.
You don't even need the find dietitian,
okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like it's just not, people will search for, you know, they might find a dietitian in, but when you put that in, you're not putting it in for the people, you're putting it in to try and get the search engines to find it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of the opposite of what they're really looking to see. Okay. So that would be my number one tip for you. And my second tip on this is I do feel you need a little bit of messaging help. Okay. Your headline on your homepage is Healthy You, again, as one word. So one thing that I would definitely do is start, I know it's part of the brand, but if you have the words typed out, type it as healthy, a space, and you.
Okay.
Because otherwise the word healthy is not helping you at all.
Okay.
Because the word is healthy you, which there's not very many people that are going to search that out.
Okay.
If they know you, they might, but you're always wanting to put content on here as if people don't know who you are so that you can find the strangers that are out there.
Okay. So would it be like maybe leave the name because that's the name of the organization and how it's listed and whatnot, like in one space, but like that first, as you come onto that first homepage, split that up in the big title.
I would actually take the big title off.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So the big title is a very keyword rich place. So what she's talking about, folks, is on her homepage in the very top spot on the content on the page, she has Healthy You Nutrition, her company name, written out again. But it's already up in the menu. It's up in the top. You don't need to repeat that. And you've got it in a very keyword rich area.
Okay.
This is where you could put, this is where people will come to me. We do we work through what elements you can put on your homepage or webpage to, best capture people. So we're always looking at the different aspects like the headline and making sure that you're identifying who you might work with as a client, what their problems are. So yours right now says Healthy You Nutrition, finding the balance between eating to live and living to eat. Okay. It's a catchy tagline. It's very nice, but a lot of people aren't going to be Googling, how do I eat to live? Right. So what you want there, and that's not part of their problem either. So you really want to identify the problem with people as close to the top of your homepage as you can. So in your case, that's why kind of focusing in on what kind of problem they really do have is key, right? Your content that goes down is more, our mission is to improve health and well-being of our community through dietary, exercise, lifestyle changes, nutrition, counseling, health coaching, medical exercise therapy, meal planning. So you've got different things in here, but you want to think about the message on the homepage is if someone who needs your services came there and didn't know you, what would they want to know and how could you put words together that would help them see and understand that you could assist them and that you could be the person to help them? So that for you is going to be key on the homepage. And the other tip I do have is everything that you have on your website page is all centered content. So that makes it very challenging for people to read online.
Okay.
Headlines you can center, big bold things you can center, but most content, especially bullet points, you want left justified because that's how people read online.
Okay.
Okay. So just a couple little tips there. You have talked about your health insurance plans on there. That's important. Okay. But your big headline on there above it is got health insurance ? Whereas what would probably be more important for you to have would be nutrition counseling services covered by health insurance.
Okay.
Right? See the difference?
Yep.
So those words are speaking more to the search engines, but at the same time, it's going to make absolute sense to somebody reading it as well. You offer nutrition counseling services covered by health insurance.
Okay.
And then you've got a list of your companies, which is really good.
Okay.
So those are a couple of the things I would probably say start you off with, which is probably enough for you.
Yeah. No, I think it's that first page too that they feel like it grabs people's attention, and then the rest is just informational or go and schedule a consult. So yeah, this is fantastic.
Yeah. And for you, Cary, the other thing, and this is why I really wanted to know about the nonprofit part of it. One of the things that you have on the homepage are ways to help. And then you talk about donate and volunteer your time. But you haven't really explained what the nonprofit is before someone gets to that.
Okay.
So that's why I asked my earlier question is, do people think it's all free? Partly. So part of your message that you need on that homepage is the fact that Healthy You Nutrition is a nonprofit organization. We have our private practice services, but we also have our nonprofit group programs that we offer. And you can learn more about that information over here. And I would kind of take that over to another page where you would totally explain what this is all about. Because a lot of people that might be coming here for private practice for nutrition counseling donate. Or organization wants generosity and involvement in people. I wanted a dietitian to help me, right?
Okay.
So the message is really confusing. And that's why it was key for me to understand your nonprofit aspect of this.
That makes sense.
Any other quick questions from you? That I know that probably brought up a lot.
It really addressed the questions that I had and gave me some very specific things to change with some ideas without, obviously writing it out and doing it for me. But I think that's the piece where, again, I've gotten some other information from other people and, made a few changes there, but I just feel like I get a decent amount of traffic, but not getting the consultations, the consistency that I feel like there's got to be a disconnect somewhere. And that makes a lot of sense. I like the straightforward. It helps. So.
And the thing is, what you're missing is sort of that path you take them on where they get those 5 questions answered. And it's like, how do I start? So you've got them going down where they're getting more questions than answers from what you have. So they're not necessarily going to hit the call to book, but also you've got the call there. But a lot of times I always tell people when you have a call to action or a button, lead into it. Tell me why I should click there, right? Complimentary consult, individual wellness services. So you've got 2 buttons side by side. What do they mean? I don't know. And you have to remember, people are just scrolling around. So if it doesn't make sense and it doesn't pop out to them, they're going to keep scrolling, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it totally makes a lot of sense. I appreciate the feedback. Yeah.
Awesome. And my advice on the donation and stuff, my same advice is going to apply to the personal training on the homepage.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've been thinking about getting rid of both of those. So it just reinforces that.
And I'm not saying, I know you asked a little bit about a makeover. Do you need to go get someone to build or buy you, put a whole new website together? I'm a no on that, to be honest. You've got like Wix has themes. You're doing, obviously, if you have this, it's you doing the website and managing it on your own. So they've got tools there. It's more, you want to work on the message and the flow that you take people through and answer those 5 questions. I think I'll put them in the show notes for everybody, that slide I did from the presentation. I know Joyce had shared that, I think pointedly in that Facebook group that she had, but I will put it in the show notes and I'll send it to you, Cary, so you've got it to work with right away.
Yeah.
But those are really key, that whenever anybody comes to a website, they need to have that message. And basically when you do that, then you can take them to a point where you will start getting more of the consults because they understand better, what it is you do, who you help, what you're doing with them, how you help them, and how you get started. Because you're kind of like sending them off on a real jagged path here to try and figure it all out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that's what I meant by makeover too, is like just changing the language, changing some of those things so that it's, again, more of that makes sense. And again, taking people through those five questions. Yeah. Answering those.
A lot of people though will, and I always worry about it because they'll say, do I need a whole new website? And they'll easily go out and get quotes for $5,000, $10,000 to build sites. And like, start with what you have, right?
Yeah.
You don't always have to jump to the full meal deal. Because right now for you, if you were to go there with what you have as the messaging, you're not going to be any farther ahead.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. No. That makes a lot of sense. Yay.
Okay, well, it was great getting to know you. And
thank you so much.
And I really appreciate you coming on here. For those that are listening in, if you want some of your own one-on-one advice on what to do with your marketing, please feel free to book one of my free marketing reviews. You can find that link at pepperitmarketing.com/review. Just punch it in, book a time with me, and we'll get you in the studio here like I did with Cary today. And it's not too scary, I don't think.
Not at all. This was super helpful. Very, very appreciated.
Excellent. So Cary, maybe you can just, I know we talked about your website here, but if you're on any social media channels where people might want to connect with you or learn any more about you or the company, where can they find you online?
I'd say my most active social media is Instagram, and it's healthy you, one word, _nutrition. There is a healthy you dietitian out there. That is not me. It's healthy you _nutrition. Yeah.
And yes, I'll put it.
Good. I am not super active, honestly, on social media. I do a little bit. I'm not looking to be an Instagram or social media influencer. Again, it's just more of feeding the SEO and all the other things that make the Googles and the internet's happy to find the website, essentially. And the people who do follow me, I do the occasional story about like food items that I find and things like that. But it's not a very active page, but I do have one.
That's okay. And, don't apologize for that, because here's the deal. When someone's looking for a dietitian, where do they go looking for a dietitian?
On the internet.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not often going to the social media channels to find them. They may, if they're getting desperate, can't find anybody looking for recommendations, but you always want to think about where people are as to where you want to be. So I always tell people, stop apologizing for not being active on social media. It's great to have a presence, but you don't have to be there all the time. Most people find that people that connect with them or follow them or maybe download their lead magnet or talk to them one time but aren't quite sure yet, they'll start following you there. And that might help something, but it probably didn't get them to you in the first place.
No, yeah. And I guess I do have YouTube that I upload some things, and actually I'm looking at doing more so in the new year, but I couldn't tell you what the actual website is. It's probably Healthy You Nutrition.
That's okay. No worries. All right. Okay. Well, I will put all of those links to Cary's connections online so that if anybody does want to reach out to her, they definitely can. And that is it for today, folks. You can find all of the resources we talked about, the couple links to the blogs that I mentioned or the podcast episodes. I've got a couple there that will help you with some information on the SEO that we were talking about. And be sure you book your own review if you want to get one of yours out there as well. Because I always tell people too, what I am going to do after this is I'll be collecting some info from Cary. And when we promote this episode, we're going to be promoting her and her business too. So it gets a little bit of that, some of the mentions of you, get your brand out there online as well. I mean, I know it is definitely way more helpful for me in that aspect, but you just never know where your next opportunity will come from.
Absolutely. No, this was, again, just beyond helpful for, an hour of my time today. So
glad to hear.
100% worth it. Thank you so much.
Perfect. All right, folks. Well, this is Kathy C. signing off, saying thanks for tuning in. And remember, to thrive in practice or business means making sure that people truly understand who you are, who you help, how you help them, and how they can get started with you. I'll see you next time. You can find all of our show notes and resources mentioned at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at pepperitmarketing and say hi. I'd love to hear any feedback you have, and make sure to rate and review the podcast and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes.